I think Iron Man 3, audiences in this movie, Iron Man 3, can expect, I think, more of a stew of things that hopefully we shift a bunch. We give, there's a tone that changes from being very suspenseful and dramatic to being very funny, I hope. And I like that we've just sort of tried to juggle the balls a little. This is the street corner version of movie making, where they throw tomatoes at you and you have to keep saying, well, what about this? And what about this? And I like pulling out the stops. I think that I have a very clever co-writer in Drew Pearson. We've given enough elements and story to this that it hopefully stands not just as an episode of Iron Man, like we're a TV series, but actually as a really interesting standalone movie with enough good content to be a worthy successor to Favreau's other films. I hope it is. The idea for the Mandarin was this sort of overarching, sort of global villain that people are sort of aware of but no one can find. That he would be an uber terrorist of indeterminate nationality, but he sort of cloaks himself with these icons of warfare and of warlords. Like he'll have dragons and swords and a throne and things that he knows will intimidate or frighten people, but I imagine he also reads Sun Tzu and he studies war tactics and takes from different terror regimes. So in his appearance, the beard, there's a little bin Laden in there, there's a little Castro in there. It's the idea of a cobbled together fright fest of a terrorist that everyone in the world can recognize as malevolent. And he's acquired these sort of acolytes who stream to him because he's a mythic figure that is sort of all things to all people. So it's an interesting version that isn't so much the comic book portrayal. Yeah, it's doing a film like this, there's a feeling sort of jumping on a train that's already been moving. You know, these people have been down this pike before. They've made other Iron Man movies. I had some good advice from Jon Favreau. He was very gracious and wonderful about me coming on board. And with him just as an actor, there was no discomfort. He was a total prince. He tips and advice and friendship, great guy. The chance to work with Robert again smoothed things over because it felt more like that was familiar. You know, I knew the process and I'd seen his mind work before, so I was prepared for that degree of that speed and calculation which he brings. Other than that, it was pretty much just, I love adventure movies. I bought my first Iron Man comic back in 1966 when I was 4 years old. So it was a challenge to live up to the bar that Favreau had set, which is a pretty high bar in terms of a realistic, grounded superhero movie that felt like it existed in the real world and had people in it that were characters worthy of this kind of acting. You get Academy Award-winning actors in these Marvel movies doing superheroes. It's a remarkable shift from when superhero movies used to be sort of lowbrow. Well, I think we wanted to expand on the notion of Iron Man so that the story wasn't quite so insular or small. I think the Avengers opened it up a lot. But what we wanted to do was go, and with Marvel's blessing, by the way, to their credit, away from the template of the Avengers and do a more sort of story that was grounded in the real world, sort of a geopolitical reality that included the White House and that included Air Force One and things like that, and not so much that was about otherworldly things. We wanted, and also when you do a third movie like this, you got to find a story worth telling that feels like it's an inevitable result, the culmination of what's come before. You got to go back to the money, to the main character, and just focus on him, I think, and find out what is there left in his head that's unresolved. What is there about being Iron Man, being a superhero, that's left to explore that feels like a unique way to view that. In this one, we have Tony going through some personal crises, and we have some tone shifts where I think there are parts where it's funny, but parts where he's actually kind of in over his head and, you know, kind of panicky. I think the thing that echoes most strongly with me about the movie that I'm most proud of is how much stuff we managed to put in. Just in terms of making an adventure movie that didn't feel like, you know, a small story or an episode, just ideas that let's just stuff one more idea in. Let's put one more joke in, one more clever Drew Pearsism in. It felt like we were just trying to make the most interesting, surprising movie we could, where you didn't stay still for too long with any one idea and just say, that's it, that's enough for this movie. So no, let's keep moving. Let's keep adding stuff. Let's generate as broad a canvas here and do as much of a thriller as we could. So to the extent that this movie actually succeeds, not just as a superhero movie with iron suits, but as a thriller with real characters and real suspense, that's what I'm most proud of. That we can say, there, we did kind of the thriller version, the Tom Clancy / Michael Crichton version of an Iron Man movie. I like that. I think that's a good thing.